My girlfriend invited her male best friend to our anniversary dinner, but I didn't expect him to order the most expensive thing on the menu, right before they both betrayed me in a way I never saw coming. Welcome to Amelia's Stories. Keep listening. These real stories about love, trust, and betrayal will give you true life experiences. If you're new, drop your location in the comments and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. My name is Evan Mercer. I'm 32, a mechanical technician from Colorado, and for the last 3 years I've been dating Lena Harwood, a physical therapist with a warm smile and a habit of making everyone feel safe. Everyone except, apparently, me. Our third anniversary should have been simple. Good food, good wine, and the woman I loved. Instead, Lena told me her male best friend Rowan Kepler would be joining us. He's basically family, she'd said, brushing off my hesitation like it was nothing. From the moment he sat down, Rowan acted like he owned the place. He ordered the most expensive entree without blinking, joked at my expense, and kept leaning into Lena's space in a way that made my stomach twist. I tried to shrug it off. Trusting her meant trusting the people around her, right? But every time I glanced at them there was this charge. Something unspoken, something I wasn't supposed to notice. Lena dismissed my concerns with a quick smile, but her eyes told a different story. When dinner ended, Rowan leaned toward her and whispered, just loud enough for me to catch a fragment. He won't know. And that's when the first crack formed. Over the next few weeks, something in Lena shifted. Subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. She started working late, coming home with a new perfume that wasn't hers before, one that lingered on her clothes long after she'd passed by. Her texts grew shorter, her voice colder, as if every conversation with me required effort. Whenever I asked if everything was okay, she brushed it off with a tired smile. Just work stress, Evan. Don't overthink it. But Lena had handled much worse without shutting me out like this. Then Rowan began appearing everywhere, slipping into our lives like he belonged there. He'd show up unannounced to pick her up. He'd drop her off late at night, headlights sweeping across our living room long after she should have been home. Sometimes he even called the house, his voice too casual, too familiar. One evening, I walked past the spare room and heard them laughing behind the closed door. Lena's bright, carefree laugh, the one she hadn't shared with me in weeks. My stomach tightened. My friend Quinn Delvecchio pulled me aside one day. Man, Rowan's got a reputation. He's ruined almost every relationship Lena's had. Watch your back. The warning echoed in my mind. When I finally tried to talk to Lena gently, just to understand, she snapped. You're being paranoid. Why are you so insecure lately? Her reaction hit harder than I expected. I knew what I felt, but she made me question it, made me question myself. So I stopped arguing and started paying attention. The tension only grew when Rowan invited Lena on a weekend hiking trip with some friends. He said it casually like it was no big deal, but the moment I heard it, something inside me tightened. Hiking was my thing. My escape, my hobby, the one place I always felt centered. Yet Lena brushed me off with a weak smile. Evan, you don't even like the outdoors that much. It's just a quick trip. Don't make it weird. That was the moment I knew she was lying. The night before they left, Quinn called me. His voice was uneasy. Man, I just saw Lena and Rowan downtown. Alone. And they weren't acting like friends. My chest sank, but anger pushed me forward. When Lena got home, I asked her directly. Were you with Rowan tonight? She didn't hesitate. No. Why would you even think that? Then she grabbed her bag and stormed off, leaving me standing there with my question hanging in the air. That was when I stopped trusting her words and started trusting the signs. Quietly, I began noticing things. Receipts stuffed deep in her purse, shifts in her schedule that didn't match what she told me, gaps in her stories. One night, while she showered after work, I checked her bag. A hotel receipt slid out, dated 2 weeks earlier. Rowan's name was printed right under hers. My hands went cold. Something was happening, something big. But I wasn't going to react yet. Not without undeniable proof. One night, Lena told me she'd be working late. I didn't follow her out of impulse or obsession. I followed because the uneasy feeling in my gut had grown into certainty. I trailed her quietly, keeping to shadows, until she pulled into the valet of a boutique hotel downtown. My heart dropped before I even saw Rowan step out to greet her with that too familiar smile. I crouched near the hallway, peeking through a crack in the door. Their voices floated out. Lena laughed softly, the sound cutting through me. Then came the words I couldn't unhear. He still thinks Rowan is just my friend. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white as a wave of shock and betrayal crashed over me. I slumped against the seat, letting the devastation settle, but I refused to let it control me. Quinn, my longtime friend, became my anchor. When I confided in him, he didn't offer empty comfort. Instead, he helped me sketch a plan. One that would reveal the truth fully without drama or confrontation and with no room for misdirection. In the following days, I carried on as if nothing had changed, polite smiles, casual conversations. But beneath the surface, I was collecting receipts, tracking schedules, photographing subtle evidence. The heartbreak was still there, a raw burn in my chest, but it began to transform. I realized that if I stayed emotional, I'd lose. So I steeled myself, letting grief sharpen into focus. Every detail I noted, every clue I gathered was a step toward clarity, toward justice, and toward finally reclaiming control over the life I thought I shared. Weeks later, I found myself back at the restaurant where our anniversary dinner had gone so wrong. I requested to speak with the manager, casually at first but with a hidden purpose. When the footage played, my stomach sank. There they were, Lena and Rowan, leaning close, laughing in a way that felt intimate, brushing hands across the table. The proof was undeniable. Then I discovered Rowan had reserved a suite at a nearby hotel that same night. My mind raced. The betrayal hadn't started after dinner. It had been building long before, hidden beneath the polite smiles and rehearsed excuses. Lena had lied to me repeatedly, and the realization stung more than I expected. When I confronted her later, she did what she always did. Flipped the story. "You've been so distant lately," she said, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "I felt like you didn't care. I needed someone who actually noticed me." I felt the old, familiar burn of guilt try to creep in, but I resisted. I nodded, letting her believe she had the upper hand, pretending to accept blame while my mind mapped out every step of what I needed to do. From that moment, I shifted into complete control. I stopped reacting emotionally and began plotting a methodical, real-world exposure of both of them. No public posts, no social media. Just undeniable, in-person revelations that would leave no room for denial. Every interaction I planned, every piece of evidence I prepared, became a calculated move toward a silent, precise revenge that would finally unmask the truth and reclaim my life. Evan planned the evening with precision, every detail calculated to look like peace while hiding the storm beneath it. He invited Lena and Rowan first, masking his intentions with a gentle, apologetic tone. "I want to clear the air," he told them. "I haven't handled things well. Let's start over." The act worked. Lena softened instantly, relieved to regain control, and Rowan accepted with smug confidence. Then Evan extended invitations to the people whose presence mattered most. Lena's parents, who still believed their daughter was committed and honest. Rowan's girlfriend, Tessa Langley, who had always defended him fiercely. And of course Quinn, the only one who knew what this dinner truly was. He rented a private dining room at a quiet restaurant. Neutral, elegant, and perfect for the truth to unfold without outside interference. The lighting was warm, the table beautifully set, every detail presenting the illusion of reconciliation. Behind the scenes, Quinn had already met with Milo Fenton, a trusted server and friend. Milo agreed to deliver envelopes, each containing carefully organized, printed evidence. At the exact moment Evan signaled. Receipts, photos, timelines, everything Lena and Rowan thought they'd buried. As the plan took shape, Evan felt an unexpected calm settle over him. The pain was still there, but it no longer controlled him. It sharpened him, steadied him. When the guests finally arrived, greeting each other with casual smiles and unsuspecting warmth, Evan simply nodded, welcoming them in. None of them had the slightest idea what was about to unfold. The dinner started smoothly enough, with polite conversation and forced smiles. Tension simmered beneath the surface, but no one could predict what was coming. Rowan leaned back in his chair, smug and confident, while Lena sat upright, almost proud, as if daring me to make a move. When the main course finished, I stood and addressed the table. "Thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate you being here." My voice was calm, steady, everything I was not feeling. Then I gave Milo a subtle nod. Milo moved down the table, sliding an envelope in front of each guest. One by one they opened them. Inside were hotel receipts, photos, time-stamped logs, and text transcripts I had painstakingly gathered. The room went silent for a heartbeat, then erupted into chaos. Lena's mother covered her face, tears spilling uncontrollably. Tessa's hand connected sharply with Rowan's cheek in a stunned slap. Rowan sputtered, attempting to pin blame on Lena, but Lena turned on me, shouting, "You've been spying. You ruined everything." I said nothing. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke louder than any argument or denial. The truth, the one they thought they controlled, was laid bare in the hands of everyone who mattered. I turned, letting my jacket brush the backs of chairs as I walked out. Their voices faded behind me, a cacophony of blame, guilt, and fury. The room imploded without me needing to add a single word. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control, my pain transmuted into quiet, devastating clarity. A few days after the exposure dinner, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to see Lena, eyes swollen, voice trembling. "Evan, please. I never meant to hurt you. Rowan manipulated me." She trailed off, desperation spilling from every word. I felt a hollow emptiness where anger might have lived. Her apologies bounced off me like stones against steel. I shook my head and stepped aside without inviting her in. She lingered a moment, silent, before leaving defeated. Not long after, Rowan appeared at the doorstep, rage written across his face. "This is all your fault," he shouted. "You ruined everything between us." He lunged, but Quinn, who had followed discreetly, stepped in and restrained him. Rowan's fury fizzled under the weight of accountability he could no longer dodge. Meanwhile, Tessa, Rowan's girlfriend, took decisive action. She filed a formal complaint with his workplace, detailing his manipulation and misconduct. Consequences hit quickly: professional scrutiny, strained relationships, and mounting pressure. Lena's own world began unraveling too. Her family, once her shield, recoiled at the truth. Colleagues whispered, friendships strained, and the trust she had depended on vanished almost overnight. I packed my belongings, leaving behind the house we had shared for years. It wasn't just walls and furniture I was leaving. It was the weight of betrayal, the memories of deceit, and the remnants of a relationship that had become toxic. I stepped out with a sense of relief, a quiet determination to rebuild, reclaiming the life that had been overshadowed by lies and manipulation. Months passed and life began to take on a rhythm that felt like mine again. I threw myself into projects I'd neglected, picked up hobbies I had set aside, and reconnected with friends who had quietly supported me through the chaos. Weekends were no longer shadowed by suspicion or betrayal. They were mine to reclaim. Lena didn't give up easily. She knocked, called, and emailed, each attempt wrapped in apologies and pleas. But I turned them all away, calm but firm, refusing to allow the past to dictate my future. Every rejection was a quiet assertion of self-respect, a boundary I had learned was worth defending. Meanwhile, Rowan's life spiraled in a way that was almost poetic in its justice. His girlfriend left him, his work came under scrutiny, and friends began to distance themselves. The arrogance that once shielded him dissolved, leaving only the consequences of his envy and manipulation. Eventually, he found me outside a coffee shop, face flushed with a mix of anger and shame. "I envied you. I felt inferior, and it made me do things I shouldn't have," he admitted, voice cracking. I looked at him, nodded once, and turned away without a word. Engaging would have been pointless. The victory was in walking free, in showing that emotional growth was stronger than vengeance. A few weeks later, Lena delivered a long, handwritten apology to my mailbox. I read the first line, then set it aside. Some closures don't require words. Some betrayals are met best with silence, and the life you build afterward. By the time months had passed, a calm settled over me that I hadn't felt in years. The chaos of betrayal, the sting of deceit, and the turbulence of revenge had faded into a distant echo. I realized that the experience hadn't just broken me, it had reshaped me. I was stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the boundaries I needed to protect my peace. It was during this new chapter that I met Maren Calloway. She was quiet, grounded, and carried herself with a respect for others that immediately felt safe. Conversations with her were effortless, genuine, and free of the tension I had learned to recognize all too well. I didn't rush. There was no need. For the first time, companionship felt like a choice, not a requirement. I moved into a modest house in a neighborhood that offered both solitude and space to rebuild. Lena didn't have any forwarding information, and I made sure it stayed that way. There was no temptation to revisit the past. It had already served its purpose. One morning I drove through the mountain pass near my new home, windows down, the crisp air rushing over me. The sunrise painted the horizon in shades of orange and gold, a reminder that every ending is also a beginning. I wasn't vengeful anymore. The quiet satisfaction of having revealed the truth and reclaimed my life was enough. I was free to live on my terms, free to respect myself, and free to embrace the peace I had fought so hard to earn.